Hey everyone, Mr. Macintosh here, and today Apple released the macOS Sonoma 14.5 update. In this video, we're going to go over the update on 8 different demonstration Macs, whether you have an unsupported Mac from 2010 or a supported Mac from 2020. You're going to want to stick around for this one. Let's jump in and get started. Today was a big day for Apple software updates. On the Mac side, along with 14.5, we got Ventura Security Update 13.6.7. We also got macOS Monterey 12.7.5. On the iOS side, we got 17.5 for iOS and iPadOS. We also got 16.7.8 for older devices, and for the brand new iPad, 17.5 with a specific build of 21F84 was also released. tvOS 17.5, HomePod 17.5, watchOS 10.5, and we did not see a Vision OS update, which is really interesting today, but we'll see if we see that tomorrow or later this week. How big is the Sonoma 14.5 update? I'm starting to keep track of the 3 different sections of update sizes. We're going to have the full update. If there's something wrong with your Mac, for example, has an unsealed snapshot, or you're an OpenCore Legacy Patcher unsupported user, it's going to be 13.65 gigabytes. Now, if you're an Apple Silicon M1, M2, or M3, you're going to see the smallest update you should see is around 2.43 gigabytes. And for Intel updates from 14.4.1, it's going to be around 1.36. Now, again, these can be very wildly because of the fact that if you have an older version like 14.2, for example, it includes all the fixes, so it will be larger. Our demonstration Mac here today is a MacBook Pro 13-inch M1 2020. This Mac is file vault encrypted. It has Apple ID with my test fake ID signed in, so it's set up to be a perfect example of a Mac that you might be using in your configuration. So it is running 14.4.1, so we can see that macOS Sonoma is ready to go here. Now if we click on more info, we can find our first bug. This bug was actually introduced in 14.4.1, where it does not show what is going on or what is available in the 14.5 update. I can't believe that this hasn't been fixed yet, and it's a really strange one, but here we are, 2.43 gigabytes like we talked about before, and all we need to do is hit update now. We'll type in our password or user account. This machine has been sitting here on this screen for the afternoon while I've been working on it. If you get this error, it's no big deal. All you need to do is let software update refresh, but I like to show what happens if something like this does happen. So we'll click on OK, and we'll let it check for updates again. It should refresh and show the same update again. We can click that more info, and we can click update now, and it should go through. Our user account password is already set, so we're good to go. It's going to download the Sonoma update as a Delta update. We're going to keep track of how long it takes to prepare the update and apply the update. Before we wanted to jump into the next part, I wanted to talk about the Rapid Security Response updates. Apple introduced the Rapid Security Response updates in macOS Ventura, and this is supposed to be the next version of a quick and easy security update. And they released a couple of security responses, and I documented them all on my website. And I had multiple people reach out and ask me about why is there no Rapid Security Response updates being released for Sonoma. I think it might be dead in Apple, and I think one of the problems is that it's dead because of the fact that it requires a restart. If Apple was able to apply these updates and apply them without a restart, it would have been perfect, but that can't happen with a lot of the different fixes inside the operating system, and they have not released one since July 12th of 2023 on macOS Ventura 13.4.1. It's not 100% dead, but since we have not seen one in almost 9 or 10 months, that might be a problem, right? So, and that's why I'm covering this, because a lot of people have been asking, where are the RSR updates? We have not seen them since then. All right, we are back up after the update. What is the build version of 14.5? It is 23F79. This was the same version as the release candidate. So if you install the release candidate, you have the same version and you do not need to update. I've been keeping track of every single update since the original update for 14.1, and then this very same machine to track every single update and how long it takes to prepare and install the update. For the 14.5 update, it took 7 minutes to prepare and 7 minutes to actually install the update, for a total time of 14 minutes. Now this aligns with some of the larger updates, the larger point release updates, for example 14.4 or 14.3. When we have the smaller security updates like 14.3.1 or 14.4.1, it's half the time usually in the installation time. You can see that by these numbers. Let's take a quick quick pause for a Mac tip. I wanted to be able to add some more value to the videos and show you a different Mac tip that you might be able to use in each update video. For this tip, I wanted to show you how to help organize your desktop. On some of my test Macs, I've got a bunch of screenshots all over the desktop, and some people will do just like what I do here, is put a folder on the desktop for screenshots. But the best thing that you can use, if you don't know about it already, is a function in macOS called stacks. All you need to do is right click or control click on the desktop and then click use stacks, and it will automatically group all the items on your desktop in screenshots, images, applications, and anything like that to keep your desktop clear. And if you want to be able to see those screenshots, all you need to do is click on this here and it expands it for you to be able to see that. And there's your quick tip. Now let's go over the firmware and the BridgeOS updates for Apple Silicon Macs M1, M2, and M3. The firmware was updated to 10.151.121.1, and for Intel Macs, BridgeOS was updated to 21.16.50.77. Safari was also updated to 17.5 for macOS Sonoma, and that is included inside the 14.5 update. Now, if you have macOS Ventura or macOS Monterey, it is included as a separate software update download for Safari 17.5 and for macOS Monterey. I put download links on my website. And finally, if you want to be able to create, for example, a USB installer, Apple has released a full installer of 14.5 and an Apple Silicon IPSW download file to be able to restore your Mac with Apple Configurator 2. Okay, now that we got all those details out of the way, let's look at what we knew for the 14.5 update. Oh, jeez. Sorry to disappoint you. Yeah. You basically have to have a subscription to Apple News Plus for Quartiles game and a new scoreboard. $12.99. That was a joke. So like, I don't know what to say. You know, I mean, tell me what you think about this. What does everybody think when you read this? Like, how do you feel if you're a macOS engineer and you spent hours working on different bugs to fix and improve Sonoma, and this is what is shown for fixes, right? I think it's pretty disappointing, and I know you feel that too, but I want to hear from you. Maybe I'm in the minority here. Maybe it's not a big deal. It's like, hey, bug fixes is a new norm, and security updates, it's like whatever is in there, just install it. Take my word for it. It's working for you. I wish Apple would really list the fixes and the documentation in here to let us know. We are smart users. We want to know what's inside our updates before we install it. And I know I've talked about this before, but I'm going to keep talking about it until it's improved, because there's one example of Apple showing that they know how to do patch notes, and it is the Logic Pro application notes. I want you to take a look at this article here. It basically will show you all of the Logic Pro notes for the release 11.0. What? How is it possible that an application has more detail than an entire operating system? You know, I'm not going to spend any more time ranting about this, but I mean, every time I see this, it just gets me a little bit more upset. So let's keep moving on here. A bright spot is that Apple does list the details of the security updates. They do a great job. I have to give them credit here. They list every single operating system version that was released, and inside is a detailed list of every security update that was fixed. This is great. Apple's doing a fantastic job here. They show 21 different macOS Sonoma 14.5 fixes and a WebKit for Safari fix at the bottom. So again, Apple is doing a fantastic job here. They just got to really get their act together on these patch notes. Now, I wanted to call out a special shout out here for one of our good friends. Check out this one right here. You might notice someone who is recognizable, Macola's first CVE. He's been working lately on some macOS security work and was able to submit and actually got his first published CVE. Macola, congratulations on this. This is a wonderful achievement to have your name listed on Apple's support page. Fantastic job. Keep up the good work. Another bright spot is the enterprise patch notes for macOS 14.5. This is for governments, schools, and businesses when they manage Macs in a large environment. And there's multiple fixes here, and I know some of the members on that team, and they do a fantastic job with talking with Mac admins, taking feedback, and looking at issues that we have. So again, even though I had a problem with the regular patch notes, the security notes and the enterprise notes are doing very well, and I'm very happy with them. Let's take a look at the Geekbench 6 benchmark scores for this 2020 M1. We have a single core at 2397 and a multi at 8798 for 14.1.1. And once we jump to 14.5, we had a 2402 and an 8775. And it's pretty much right on target. And that's what we're looking for, and that's why we do this test. We want to make sure that the new update doesn't cause anything problem-wise that causes a big swing either up or down. Looking good across the board. Now let's talk about OpenCore Legacy Patcher for unsupported Macs in 14.5. If we go to the GitHub here, we can see that the 1.4.3 update is still in play, and that was since March 31st, and that was running okay on 14.1 and 14.3.1. And that also fixed the issue for non-metal Macs. The WWDC is coming up pretty soon, and there is most likely going to be an update to OpenCore before then, because a lot of the development work is going to be put into macOS 15 once it is released on the first day of WWDC. Keep an eye out for that, and we'll keep a real close tab on that. But I wanted to make sure that 1.4.3 and 14.5 work, and that's why we got our fleet of unsupported Macs up and running. Now let's jump in and take a look at those and see how those are working. Now, before we jump in and look at some of the individual unsupported machines, I wanted to go over a couple of quick things. First of all, there is a new kernel debug kit for 14.5, and it is 23F79. Now, remember, like I've said in previous videos, this does not come out directly at the 10, 12, or 1 p.m. time when Apple releases the updates. This usually comes a couple hours later, sometimes up to 6 hours later, around 5 or 6 p.m. that same day. This one came out pretty early. It was around 3 o'clock or so, and that's why I recommend waiting until the new KDK comes out if your Mac requires one before you jump to the update, or you'll be using a beta version of a KDK. That's why I waited this. We've got our good build there, and we are looking a-okay on this 2013 Mac Pro. I also was having some issues with the caching server, and this is the caching server for all the updates. And you can see here how many gigabytes we've served. We've served 82 gigabytes over the cache from this caching server. Now, the only problem is that I noticed that there's some slower speeds with the 14.5 update. I'm not sure what the cause of this is. Normally I'm getting over 125 megabytes a second down or sending over Ethernet. And this time, to every single machine, I was only averaging anywhere between 40 and 55 megabytes. So again, I'm going to have to look into that, see what's going on. And that pretty much covers some of the main things. Back to the individual machines, this Mac Pro 2013 is running a-okay with the kernel debug kit, and on 14.4 and on 1.4.3 and 14.5. Up next is our 2014 15-inch Retina MacBook Pro, and we picked this one because it's a Kepler-based GPU and it does not require the kernel debug kit. We're on 14.5, 1.4.3 OpenCore Legacy Patcher, and we will see some of these messages for the system extensions are being updated, and that's totally normal when we have our non-KDK. We'll see that with the Mac Mini in a second here from 2012, but we've got our Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, no issues whatsoever. Keep in mind, this is not basic testing of the day of release. I try to get these tests going as soon as possible just to find any major issues with just the units that I have for testing. This doesn't cover everything, but we do the best we can here. Next up is our 2012 Mac Mini desktop. We wanted to get a desktop going in here, especially this one because it has only the Intel HD graphics in there and it does not require the kernel debug kit. It's just Ivy Bridge and modern wireless patching. We will also see these kernel extension messages when we are updating and installing the post-root patches, but everything's running a-okay on this 2012 Mac Mini. Next up is the king of Apple laptops, the late 2011 17-inch MacBook Pro. We've picked this guy because it is a non-metal GPU, and we can see here we've got AMD Terascale 2 and Intel Sandy Bridge graphics and modern wireless and keyboard backlight. We're running a 1.4.3 and the 14.5 update installed successfully. We've got our Bluetooth, our Wi-Fi, everything is working very well. We did have a login window crash. Now, we've seen this before on some of the non-metal Macs from 2011. This only happened one time, and I'm hoping it's a fluke, but I definitely wanted to mention that, and we're going to keep an eye on that going forward here. Now, while that MacBook Pro 17-inch is the king of laptops, the king of desktops is the 5.1 Mac Pro from 2010. We've got 1.4.3 and 14.5 installed. Now, this is upgraded a little bit. We've got our modern wireless card that is installed as a PCI card that is upgraded Wi-Fi and upgraded Bluetooth. And we also have our metal compatible NVIDIA Kepler graphics card, the NVS 510, and all of this and all these pieces are working together to have a wonderful setup here, and is working very well with no issues whatsoever on this 2010 Mac Pro. Now, before we continue, I wanted to show a little bit of a background picture of the testing that I do immediately once the update comes up. I get all the test machines all fired up. I get my caching server, the Mac Pro here, plugged in and working, so I can cache the update to every single one of these machines super fast. And I'm not using 100 gigabytes worth of data over the home network, and it works very well and is very fast. I did say that I was going to have a content caching video coming up soon to show you how to get your own setup if you want to be able to do that. And I want to be able to work on my setup in the future to be able to show you live instead of just screen over when I'm doing these updates. And I think that'll work a lot better. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you're interested in seeing. I think it would help out cut up the video a little bit. Many of you have already suggested doing that, so I'm looking forward to getting that set up in the future. And last but not least, our 13-inch polycarbonate white MacBook 2010. This is the oldest machine we have in the testing fleet, and it is still running very well today. Again, it's not as speedy as some of the newer machines, but it does get the job done, and it's not lagging. Very impressive for having a 14-year-old machine running the latest operating system of our latest version of macOS Sonoma. We have here a NVIDIA Tesla, we've got our modern wireless, and our legacy USB 1.1. Now keep in mind, remember, the 2010 and older Macs for Ventura and Sonoma will require a USB 2.0 hub or a Apple branded keyboard from 2008, because that's a USB 2.0 keyboard. And I've been seeing a lot of new users getting stumped by this because they're saying, hey, I try and install Ventura or Sonoma and I don't have any keyboard or mouse, or I'm getting this weird picture of a mouse on my screen. This is why. So keep that in mind. Many of you veteran users already know this, and this is like night and day for you. But again, if you're a new user, you got to keep an eye on this. We got our KDK for 14.5 here. Now keep in mind, these are supposed to be cleared out, so that's a little small issue, and you should only see the latest version here, but sometimes that doesn't happen. It's not going to hurt anything, but it does take a little space in the library developer KDK folder. We're on 14.5, and we have our 1.4.3, our Wi-Fi or Bluetooth working. Everything's A-OK on this 2010 13-inch MacBook. Now comes the recommendation. Do I recommend installing the 14.5 update? This is a tough one, and I'll tell you because I know that there's bug fixes behind the scenes, and it's unfortunate, like I mentioned earlier, that Apple is not mentioning these bug fixes. We do not have multiple betas and multiple gigabytes worth of updates only to get puzzles and crossword puzzles for News Plus, okay? So it would be great for me to be able to show those to you if Apple would be able to tell us what those were. But what is important, though, is our security. We try to keep our Mac secure, and seeing all these security updates is important to keep your Mac secure. That is one of the reasons why Apple puts all the time into their bug bounty program to get all these bugs repaired to keep your Mac as secure as possible. So in that situation, yes, it is safe. Now, for the other things that I was joking about, no, we don't need that. And it's not worth it to do that if you're not even going to be able to use those things. But for security and those bug fixes, we know, I do recommend installing this update. For OpenCore Legacy Patcher users for unsupported Mac, I would still usually always hold off recommending for about a week or so to make sure that there's not a bigger issue that comes up or anything like that. It can be detected and you can hold off if anything like that comes up. Thanks for watching the video today. If you stuck around all the way to the end of this video, let me know in the comments. Type in VIP. You are a VIP viewer and I really appreciate you. You're an all-star for sure. And also, hey, I'm going to give a shout out to the Logic Pro Patch Notes team. You guys are amazing. And if I ever get to talk to you one day, I would love to just sit and chat just to pick your brain on being able to put together these wonderful notes. Anyway, we'll talk to you in the next video. Thanks.